Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll just give it 1 minute to allow some time for people to join here. Hey, everyone. Welcome. My name is Andrew, and I'm a marketing project manager here at Moxa. Today's webinar, we'll be focusing on a cybersecurity strategy, also known as defense in depth. This strategy involves creating different layers of protection that make it difficult for an intruder to penetrate an industrial system. Defense in depth is a great first step toward setting up an effective cybersecurity strategy. During the course of this webinar, we hope to leave you with some key takeaways here. So hopefully you'll get to understanding what the defense in depth strategy is and how it correlates with the IEC 622443 standard, how we can measure if equipment has the required features to deploy a defense in depth strategy, along with understanding some of the networking solutions from Moxa that offer enhanced cybersecurity features. Joining us today here, you'll see our Moxa's product marketing managers for networking and cybersecurity, Felipe Costa and Marty Wachi. Welcome, you two. It's good to have you on here. And so now before we get started, I just want to go over a few things. So we will save some time at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away within the Q&A during the whole course of the webinar. You'll see a little button down there that says Q&A, and you can go ahead and ask in there. Our presenters will get around to answering some of those at the end of their presentation. You'll also see the occasional poll question pop up on your screen over the course of the webinar, so we ask you kindly to participate if you're willing to do so. We value all of your opinions and feedback, so please don't hesitate to participate with just 2 simple clicks there for each question. And with that in mind, I'll pass it off to Felipe and Marty for their presentation. Take it away, guys.
Hey, Andrew, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Hey, Marty, good to see you.
Felipe.
So before I believe we start the conversation, would you like to have like a short moment to understand the strategy for the ones that are joining us so far? So I'd like to bring here a poll question. So it will help us and guide the conversation on the next slides. So Tim, could you please bring the first question to the audience? Great. So basically this question is, what are you using as a secure framework? So we have here some options. We will explain some of them in the sequence, but let's give you a couple of seconds to answer that. Okay. Basically, we will explain the defense in depth, but definitely behind the defense in depth, we should have some kind of framework to embase this strategy. So here are the most common ones that we see in US and Americas, but definitely if you have any other, also please comment to us so we can have this visibility. So let's see the results. All right, so a lot of people are not using a specific framework. That's fine. Some of them are using 6243. That's great. We will share more details later. And okay, you have like a mix of answers for the other frameworks. That's fine. I'll now create like a baseline for a conversation and bring a chart. As we can see here, basically, we have a lot of frameworks available in the market at this point. But for the one side, we have many things to take care of. On the other hand, we have a lot of criminalities and a lot of overlaps. So this is what we bring here with this chart. As you can see, we have different perspectives of cybersecurity. I will not specify those. But in short, the wider the area of the figure here, the higher the coverage in cybersecurity perspective. So we have different, let's say, means for that. But basically, as you can see, 6443, that is the origin one. It has contained a lot of ISO 27000 and NIST, NERCIP, and many other frameworks. So it translates basically, although we are explaining more details in 643 here in this webinar, a lot of that strategies and outcomes from the standard also correlates to the other most common frameworks like ISO and NIST. Yeah, so pretty much it is a summary just to embase, although you may be using other frameworks, you definitely can leverage the knowledge and the other outcomes from 643 that we represent today. So, hey, Mari, welcome on board again.
Hey, thanks, Felipe. I've been hearing about defense in depth for a while now, and all this may be a new topic for some folks. We saw there's a lot of folks that aren't using any frameworks at all. Could you maybe just before we get started too far into this, maybe review really quickly what defense in depth is for folks that may not be familiar with it?
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. Basically, it's not new concept that you just mentioned. It came from a military perspective. I will not really go in really deep details, but overall, let's say, picture of the concept. As you can see, we have here like an old civilization, and the historian says that the most important people are here located. So the idea behind the defense in that concept is the most important people to this community would be protected for different layers. So assuming when intruder, another civilization try to take over this area, would face several challenges, several layers of difficulties to reach these most critical people to this civilization. So creating this parallel with industrial control systems, basically, as you can see, we also have critical assets that should be protected in a different manner compared with other, let's say, usual assets. So basically, the defense that propose different layers of protection according to the criticality of the device that we are referring to. So I hope it's clear a little bit of the concept. And I would like to bring here another cool question to the audience to understand, based in this high-level definition of defense in depth, how they see the security level. Tim, could you please bring here the second full question? Just great, thank you. So yeah, trying to make it simple, we consider it access control, security policy, just as a way to say, but we definitely can consider how you see your defense and depth posture in general. It's a kind of basic. You are doing a little bit of hardening, closing the most, let's say, common attack surface, or you are trying to do something more sophisticated, trying to deploy some type of systems, or we are considering yourself advanced, and you already have like a robust strategy behind, a lot of policy and procedures, a lot of technology in place. So just to have like an insight from the audience so far. I'll give you a couple of seconds to share this information with us. Great, let's see the results. All right, a lot of people here are doing the basic. Absolutely, the security starts here on the basic side. So assuming we will share some, let's say, a journey inside, definitely it's also good to know that a lot of people is doing the basic. We have some people in the intermediate and some of them the advanced. So yeah, we have like a very heterogeneous audience here today. Good to know. All right, guys. So thank you for sharing this information. I would like to jump in a little bit, let's say, more technical slide right now, and give you an overview, 1,000-foot view of the standard. We will focus today in the E643. Like I start kicking off this webinar, we saw that even you're using other frameworks, a lot of the concepts behind the standard are definitely translating to those. So basically, just for those that are not familiar with the standard itself, we have here different layers that we call tiers, and each tiers has a specific goal. And basically, we have policy procedure, general review, system, and component. It translates basically the audience that the book or this chapter are looking for. So we have here part of the standard that focus and target customers and users, other part that targets system integrators, other part that targets manufacturers like Moxa, and we've explained a little bit more in details during the presentation. So as you can see, it's a really robust framework covering different perspectives and users, system integrators, systems perspective, product perspective. So we have a lot of things. Absolutely, we have like a time limitation here. So I will bring just cup of these, let's say, insights that the standard itself brings. So the first one that I'd like to share that is useful to end customers and also to system integrators is the concept of zones and the concept of conduits. As you can see, we have different colors or rectangles from different, let's say, source here, the US Homeland Security Department, from the ISA itself, the standard. The concept behind the zones, like we explained the defense in depth at first, we have different, let's say, expectations of security and needs of security. So we should put together the critical assets together and create like a defense strategy correspondent to that. So basically, we can consider that all devices inside the zone, they have the same capability and the same need of security. They are critical in the same way. So in that explanation, as you can see here, you should create a different strategy based on the criticality of all devices that are contained in this zone. And the other concept that the EC243 brings is the conduit. It translates basically that all communication among zones should be filtered, controlled, and somehow track it. So basically what we're saying, all the information that is going in and out should be filtered somehow. And the most common technology approach to do that are firewalls. So this is the first two concepts. The other concept that is really useful from the EC243 is the concept of secure level. We have different, let's say, applications for security level, but considering end users and system integrators, security level is what is the security I need for these specific assets that I'm trying to protect. So the standard tries to make it easier and make like a most describable definition, as you can see here, protect against casual or coincidental violation. So even you don't understand all the details, the technical details behind, you definitely can have expectation about the security itself. The standard will make a correlation among these concepts with a lot of technical details. So it helps the customers basically to define what the level they need based in this simple statement. And all the system integrators and the manufacturers will take care of the details based on the standard recommendation. But even we have like a overall definition, I try to make my translation of that in a more, let's say, practical way. And as we can see here, is basically what we are trying to defend using security level 1. Basically for operational mistakes, insiders, operator with the rights and make some configuration that is not proper to the system. We want to avoid this happens. The security level 2 is like one single hacker using, for example, Kali Linux, trying to hack the system directly with intention to hack the system, but most likely with not specific knowledge about the system or the targeted system. Security level 3 and 4 are a little bit more advanced, so we can consider it cyber criminals using code, let's say tailored tools to hack and already having some specific knowledge. And the 4 basically means national states, financial groups trying to hack. So as you can see, so far in the market, security level 2 is the the highest bar that you can see for products itself to defend the network. So if you need more than two, it means 3 and 4, you need basically to create a correlation combination strategy of security to reach that level. So with that, I would like to bring a conversation to the audience. Why should you think about security, switch security? So let's think for at this point about some products that usually are deployed as a secure appliance or have for itself the capability to defend the network. Usually what we have is a firewall with IDS, IPS capability. We will explain more details in the other webinars of what does it mean. But basically our most advanced cybersecurity, let's say, assets and device. But usually due to the costs and also the proposal we have, they are installed in just a few places inside the network. The second option usually are routers. So routers compared to firewalls, they are usually more, we have more spots inside the network, but still, we have a potentially double compared with firewalls. But considering switches, they are everywhere. So assuming we have robust switches, considering cybersecurity mindset, helping and supporting the in detection solutions, raising the bar in security in different points of the network, most likely your defense strategy will be much more robust because we are considering much more points at the same time. So it's a lot of smart, in my opinion, to consider the switch security as basic intermediary step to create your strategy in cybersecurity, and it correlates with the defense in depth that we are explaining here. So I believe, yeah, Marty, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Felipe, so if I were to kind of summarize what you're saying, it's really kind of a best practice then to push as much of the security intelligence to the edge of the network, regardless of whether you're basic, intermediate, advanced, and it really starts with switching. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Correct, because as you can see, the covered area are much more higher comparing switches with any other type of device. So having those with higher bar of security, potentially have a higher secure posture as well. I agree with that. And potentially, I believe some of the audience may have the question, and how I may have this certain, or how can I ensure that my device has actually all the features that 64.3 asks, right? And I believe a short way that the standard creates, a short path that the standard creates for that is the certification. So every time that you see -4, -2 is the chapter or the book of the standard that defines all the cybersecurity needs and that we call fundamental requirements that are 7 that are needed the device has in order to create this cybersecurity defense. So basically, you having cybersecurity -4, 64.3, -4, -2 certified device, you have all the recommendations of the standard certified by a third-party lab. So it's definitely a way to make sure you are having all these features that we are talking and creating the cybersecurity strategy, starting pretty in a good shape. So here we have the explanation for what these fundamental requirements mean, but basically I will not go in that details at this point due to the time limitation we have. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to share on the chat or even to contact us to proper help you in how you can leverage this functionalities based on the standard.
So Felipe, you've talked about defense in depth, zones and conduit, some of the concepts for 6443. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how Moxa's internalize all these things that you've talked about, and what does that look like from Moxa's perspective?
Sure. Thanks, Mark, for the question. Absolutely. As you can see, defense in depth is a generic concept. The standard itself also brings different generic concepts with the defense in depth, and one of them I explained that is our zones, and the other is conduits. Basically, how Moxa deploys the defense in depth concept in our portfolio is basically starting from the device perspective. So as you saw, that there is a lot of rationale behind. As soon as I raise the bar on the switching side, I'm doing a lot already in closing the attack surface to the intruder perspective. But it goes beyond that. Basically, the second layer of defense in depth is how we support our customers on the networking perspective. So how we help them to deploy zones and conduits. I believe you share more details later about our portfolio that we help in that regard. How we help on the defense and response and detection, that basically IDS, IPS solutions that we have. And I believe the most important considering this in how we tie this all together, right? So Mari, considering the importance that we have to put all this piece together and make a day work smoothly, how Moxa support the customers to tie all this piece together?
Yeah, that's a great question, Felipe. I think I've got a slide that kind of puts some of this into perspective here. So hopefully most of you that have been on a webinar with us around security have seen this before. For the new folks on the call, this is kind of our 5-pillar security solutions model that we use to kind of talk about some of the things that Felipe has just discussed. And it really starts at the top with secure development. This is the 62443-4-2 manufacturing lifestyle compliancy that we have for a lot of our manufacturing processes. And this is really making sure that our development process lifecycle is secure, so that before the product even reaches you or the customer, that we've done due diligence to make sure that there's processes and procedures and other things put in place that make sure that that is secure and makes it very difficult to be tampered with before it's deployed and even when it's in the field. So having things like secure boot, signed images, having a secure development process, those are all things that go into lifecycle management. So when you're thinking about security solutions that you're looking for your particular set of partners, you know, we look at it kind of very holistic. There's obviously the products that we'll talk about here in just a minute. There's the secure management piece, which is super important to not just help you deploy and go through the different life cycles, but help you to audit and make changes and monitoring all those things. Education, things like what we're doing today for our end customers and partners is super important. And finally, the support and advisory. That's something kind of gets looked at after the fact sometimes. I mean, many of you that work with Moxa are familiar with our free tech support and warranties, but some of you may not be aware that we do have our own product security advisory and security response teams that you can go to our product pages, subscribe to email or RSS feeds, and get some of that every time there's a vulnerability that's discovered, and as we go ahead and make changes to try and address that. So this is kind of a holistic way of looking at a security solution and kind of our approach to it. So with that, I think we've got a poll question coming up here. So I think what we wanted to kind of do is find out, you know, Felipe showed that switches is everywhere. A lot of you are kind of in the basic and intermediate part of your deployments from a security perspective. What we wanted to know is, you know, what's kind of driving your switch refresh or deployments? Is it products that are going EOL or products that just go out of service? Is it being driven, you know, more by growth or expansion? Is it, you know, just more security, or is it cost, or some combination thereof? So if you guys could maybe take a second and check the ones that are applicable to what you're seeing is kind of driving switch refresh for you guys, that would be helpful for us. So we'll just take a second here, and when Andrew sees that we've got most of the answers in, we will put up the results. All right. So it looks here like, you know, security is by far one of the biggest drivers, which is great. It's also good to see that there's a lot of growth and expansion. So these are things that maybe we can focus a little bit on, both in this webinar and in future webinars. So that's awesome. Okay, so let's get into some of the product piece. So again, we saw from some of the poll questions, we've got a lot of you that are just starting out at the basic or intermediate stage. We saw from the last poll question, security is a big driver in switch refresh as well as expansion. So we've spent a lot of time in this webinar talking about 62443 and the certification and all the great things that Felipe just talked about. So just as a quick high level, what's happening at the product family level. So for those of you that may not be familiar, last year we came out with our next generation EDS 4000, G4000 family of next generation switches, really focused on security. You can see some of the features on the secure lifecycle management. There's been a lot of additions that we've made here, as well as this is the first set of switches that are actually 62443-4-2 certified. So that's available right now. We added some of that secure device booting to the product to make it so that from a lifecycle management, it's secure. There's a bunch of security enhancements at the product level, ACLs, password policies, sticky mat, etc. It supports our network management tools like MXV1, and like we talked about from a support and advisory perspective, it's got all the warranty, phone support, supported by the PCERT vulnerability team, as well as the security advisories are available. So I think Felipe, it was something like 68, 70 switches that were part of this family. So a lot of product has come out with some of those security features that as you're looking to do upgrades, this might be something that you want to take a look at if you're not familiar with it. In addition to that, last month we came out with our new Wi-Fi 5 family of new APs. Again, same secure manufacturing lifecycle management, same secure device boot, a bunch of security enhancements, the big one being WPA3 support and dual image. So it makes it very difficult now to brick the AP by having that dual image. Even if you're doing an upgrade, it gets interrupted. It still has a backup image it can fail over to. They still have NAT support, so that helps from a security and deployment. And just like the switches, supports all the network management, all of the support advisories, PCERT. There is a firmware update that's coming out next month, I believe, that will also accompany the 62443-4-2 certificate for these products. So something else that we're really excited of having our first wireless products that are 62443 certified, which brings me kind of to the last product that we have to talk about, which is our EDR G9010. So that came out last year. Again, same manufacturing process that we talked about, 62443-4-1 certified, the secure boot, a lot of next generation security enhancements. So not only just next generation firewall, significant performance increases over 810. We added anomaly detection and protection as part of the standard package, enhanced DPI capabilities, so even more protocols than just Modbus and some of the ones that we had in the EDR 810. And then we added on top of that IDS and IPS, intrusion detection and protection capabilities through a subscription. It also has virtual patching capabilities, so it has the ability to protect critical endpoints that may be running old OSs like Windows 7 or something like that you can't patch. You can put this in front of it and it will screen out a lot of those threats specific to that OS. And just like all the other products, same network management, same support that we just talked about. There's a firmware update for this product coming out in August, which will accompany the 62443-4-2 certificate for that. So with this update in August, we will have basically a router security appliance family, a wireless family, and a switch family of products that are all 62443-4-2 certified. So really exciting as far as what we're doing there.
Hey, Mari, sorry to interrupt you, but wow, a lot of exciting new products, a lot of alignment with 6243-4-2 certification, as you explained. But about software solutions, how we help to tie all these pieces together?
Wow, that's a really good question. And for those of you that know me, I could probably spend a whole day just talking about that. So if we go back to this, if we go back to the security solutions model, right? Secure management is something that's super important because as you saw some of the pictures that Felipe put up, there's a lot of devices out there. As the networks get bigger, it's difficult to manage on a device by device basis. So if we go to kind of, I like to use this life cycle slide here to kind of talk about the different process. So this is kind of the process that our customers go through in terms of their network life cycle. They have to start by provisioning and deploying a product. Then from there, they monitor, update, troubleshoot, replace, manage security policies, depending on kind of what their pain points are. And I think the point here is that we've got all those great new products with security features. We also have a bunch of new software, MXV1, MX Security, that we're going to talk about in the upcoming webinars. But just to give you a taste, these tools are going to help you manage those new products, manage some of the security features, especially in some of the higher end security appliances. So we'll definitely spend more time on this in future webinars. But if you can't wait, you can always hit us up and ask any questions about this, and we'd be happy to reach out to you specifically and talk about them. So with that, I think it brings us to our next poll question. So this is kind of selfish in the sense that we are planning some other webinars to follow this on, and we really wanted to hear from you guys about, based on where you are, what are some additional topics that you might want us to go into a little bit more detail, or that you might be interested in a separate webinar specifically for. So we picked a couple. If you're just starting out, maybe you have some questions more about defense in depth and how to set up some of that perimeter switch security. A lot of you were talking about the need for more advanced security, so maybe more interested in our threat detection and response products and capability around IDS, IPS, and virtual patching. We saw several of you weren't using any security framework, so maybe doing something more around, choosing 62443 potentially as a framework, or maybe more details on any of these security solutions that we've covered today. So give you a second to fill that out, and when Andrew sees that most of the questions have been answered, we can move on. All right, so it looks like the winner is threat detection and response, which is good.
Good for you, my friend. So
we have a whole webinar planned just on that. But it also seems like there's actually a good number of folks that are interested in probably more on the framework and how they could use it, and just more details on our security solutions, maybe at a product level, which actually fits nicely because I think that's actually part of what we're planning on uncovering in the next one. But yeah, this is really good information. Felipe, you have any comments on? Oh, sorry, it's gone. Let's keep going.
No. Yeah, absolutely. No comments. I believe that it's pretty much aligned what we expect as the second and the third webinars to build all this holistic proposal that Moxa has. So yeah, I believe pretty much aligned. I appreciate guys to share that information with us. And this is pretty much our last slide. I have just like the takeaways that you pretty much summarize the conversation. After that, we have just a last question, and we'll be open to Q&A. Hopefully, during this conversation with my friend Maury, that we propose here some solutions we brought to the facing depth. So definitely, it's still necessary and should be part in any strategy, in my opinion. So this is also what is 6243 proposed through the concept zones and conduits that we explained briefly here in our webinar. To make it simple, when we have a manufacturer, a certified manufacturer and certified products, we have the guarantee of the standard perspective for the third lab part, that all the process that Mari comment here, and also all the features, that technology features that we need to build this defense are in place and by design on this device. So it's definitely an easy way to select solutions, is to looking for the -4 for manufacturing and -2 for products itself. Definitely, it also correlates to the second takeaway. So how we make sure all these defense in depth, secure by design that we explained that are so important, starting from the switches itself. Basically, the certification will be the shortest way to make sure you have all of that without any type of marketing, will be really objective and really guaranteed by the standard perspective. And Moxa is certified at this point. Their switches, our switches, actually in secure level 2. And with that is what we see as well. What is the most the market can bring so far in technology wise. And the last thing is definitely Moxa has a comprehensive portfolio of certified products that my friend Maury brought here, just a flavor in wireless, routers, switches, and many other products that we'll be certifying in a roadmap in the near future. So basically, we're really committed to bring this holistic way to bring solution to our customers through products, through software, and help them to put all this piece together. So I hopefully this webinar was useful to you guys. And as last question, I don't know, before I jump to the question, Maury, any comment? I know that you always have comments, so be free to jump in.
No, I think we're good. I mean, in the interest of time, I think I want to make sure we let the folks on the call get some questions in. So why don't we go to the last question and move to the Q&A?
Sounds good. Yeah, basically, as we explained, we have many of you that are pretty comfortable in build. They already have frameworks, so we just want to have updates about solutions. That's fine, but maybe others are looking for more guidance and a little bit more help in how to build that solution and how our solutions can fit. So basically, just let us know. We will try to reach you out later, just in case you have interest in this, and make sure you can give the support you need. I will give a couple of seconds to have the chance to answer this question, and later, just after, actually, we will bring you to the Q&A sections and hopefully answer the questions that you have during the presentation. All right, thank you, team. So Andrew, welcome on board. I believe you can guide us on this last part of the Q&A section.
Yeah, thank you both again. So yeah, it's finally time for some Q&A. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask away if you haven't done so already. We do have a couple of questions here, so or a few, I should say. Question number one is the conduit just the firewall?
Actually, is the concept. Usually, the act to filter the information to be able to understand what type of protocols are passing through the ports that are being used, even the applications. This is what the standard brings as conduit. So usually we can do that using firewall. That is the most common technology approach. So assuming you have the firewall doing the filtering, you be doing what the standard recommends as conduit concept.
Perfect. Thank you, Felipe.
Absolutely.
Next one, to follow up to that one, is the conduit the same as VPN?
No, actually, it's a different concept. VPN, you help to bring you privacy through encryption. So help to hide the information for the outsiders. most likely when we are doing a remote access, Moxa absolutely have this capability this capability in our routers and also in specific solutions for remote access. But basically, they are different concepts. Here, remote access is one thing, and conduit, they are bringing the concept in how you are protecting the communication inside your network. So basically, how you are guaranteeing that you know what's happening there, right? What is going ingress and egress of your communication. So they are somehow correlated, but are different things.
Perfect, thank you. And we have another question. How about the compatibility of the new generation switches and the old ones?
Yeah, absolutely. This is increment, right? We understand that our customers, they will have different type of products and even let's say level of sophistication in security perspective. So definitely all these products, they can work in what we call greenfield, that is brand new applications, or brownfield. So what we need to make sure is the strategy, right? Step one back one step and see how is your architecture, your topology. So if your switches by themselves cannot protect like the new switches, you potentially need to do what we call countermeasures that basically deploy other secure solutions, maybe a firewall, maybe IDS. It depends on what you're lacking in this other device. But basically, in compatibility perspective, no issues at all. It's just a matter you make sure you have the same level of security in all inside your zone, for example, and you can have on this.
Perfect. We'll squeeze one more question in here. What SIEM do you suggest to supervise an OT environment?
Wow.
So I can start, and Felipe, maybe you can answer. I'm not sure that we can really give a specific, given that I don't know that much about Federico the environment. I would say that you need to consider a couple of things in terms of your environment, what you're trying to accomplish, and then I'd also say that even though your question says specifically OT environment, we do see a lot of our customers, and this is maybe a function of also size of the network, where it's usually at some point having to be integrated with an IT security system. So making sure that whatever capabilities you need also give you the growth to be able to support integration of some of the IT tools, I think is important. Probably that what we'll have to do is follow up with you directly to get some of your current environment before we can really make a recommendation. But it is a good question that you're asking. But there's a lot of factors that go into determining that. I don't know, Felipe, if you want to comment further on that.
No, I'm here definitely to help the guidance. We need to have a better idea what they already have and basically the components that we can propose. I agree with you.
Perfect. We do have more questions flowing in, but I think we're running late on time here. So we'll get around to answering these offline. If you have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us for part one. This is a webinar series, so we will be having subsequent webinars later on this year. So stay on the lookout for part two to get registered for that soon. We'll also be sure to send you a follow-up email with a link to the recording of this webinar, so you're able to watch it on demand at your convenience. I also want to give a huge thank you again to Felipe and Marty for joining us for the fantastic presentation. As always, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and have a great one. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. See you next. Bye-bye.